Hello, welcome everybody. We are so excited you are here to join us for our workshop where we're diving into EquatIO specifically for our elementary math and science teachers. Now, what the best part is about this workshop is that our great friends over at TextHelp have provided this opportunity for you to learn. So we are so grateful that this workshop's funded by them here on YouTube right now. So we're all here. We're ready to go. John, next slide, please. You are probably wondering who the heck this person is talking to you. My name is Emily Fitzpatrick, and I am the co-founder here at the Cobblestone Collective. I also come to you as a former math and computer science teacher here in Ontario. So who the heck is the Cobblestone Collective? Well, we are a network of educators, a Canadian company who helps support utilizing technology inside your classrooms effectively and meaningfully. And EquatIO, the tool we're diving into today, definitely does that for our math and science classrooms. It kind of takes all of the cool tools that we've always seen for English language arts and writing, and really allows us as math and science educators to dive in. We here at the Cobblestone Collective work with amazing educators throughout Canada and the world, and there are 3 rock stars here to hang out with you today. And I am not going to keep talking because they have too much great knowledge, resources, and templates for you. Katie, I'm going to pass things over to you.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. My name is Katie Eklund, and I am actually all the way down in Southern California. I am a technology project facilitator, but also former elementary teacher before working more in technology. So I'm so excited to be here with you guys. We're going to have an amazing session. I'm going to let our other 2 amazing people here with us introduce themselves real quick.
Thank you, Katie. I'm Isabella Liu. I am a high school science and math teacher, as well as an EdTech program coordinator at my school, at an independent school here in Toronto, Ontario. So this session, I know is very elementary focused. If you know secondary teachers who are very curious about EquatIO, make sure that they register for the secondary workshop that's coming up next week.
Thank you so much. And I couldn't do this without these 2 lovely women, as they are my controllers and my MCs keeping track of where I am. So my name is Jonathan. I am a Peel District School Board teacher. I work as a learning environment itinerant teacher, dealing with our learning environments and dismantling anti-Black racism, as well as anti-oppression. And I'm here as an EdTech consultant, so helping you out with EquatIO and all the really cool things that go with it. Before we get started, though, I do want to do a land acknowledgement. Ani, I am coming to you from the lands of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, which is residing on Treaty 19, 13A, and 14. The land is such a critical component of who I am, and I walk the trails that are around me. I take care of these trails, and more importantly, these trails are part of my children's youth and how they grow up. I teach them about the cedars, about the plants, about the animals, and the life imbalances that are next to each other. I do want to acknowledge that this land has walks upon those of the Anishinaabeg, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe Chippewas people, as well as our Métis and the home of the Mississauga of the Credit. I do encourage you as educators and anyone listening to this later on to reach out to your elders, to your knowledge keepers, talk to them, learn from them, bring them into your classrooms, honor them, and honor the voices that they have to offer into your curriculums that are there. This is an important part of our truth and reconciliation, and I think it's an important piece that's missing from our curriculums. So we are going to get started, and in order, if you joined us in our last session, and we had this Google form, and it's going to look a little different because this is like the web page here. It's like a bit.ly, right? The cc.page/my answer. So if you could take that and type that into a new tab, you'll come up with a form. It'll look just like a Google form. And the question I want to know, just to get to know you, what grades do you teach or subjects? And so I know Isabella teaches in high school and intermediate, and Katie is in our elementary panel, and I teach K to 8. So I have a huge range of clientele that we work for. So hopefully you can type in that link there. The cool thing here, so if I go to the cc.page, my answers, it will pop up this Google form. And there is a new option that's in here. It's optional. So in case we can't get to your live, if you want to leave an email for us when we do ask questions around for help or things like that, we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So we have a bunch of grade 6, we have grade 8 teachers. We have some grade 4 teachers by the looks of it. This is pretty awesome. So welcome, Diana, Cheryl, Emily, 5-6, Deanna. Oh, cool. This is awesome.
K to 12
coordinators too. Oh, you brought some of the coordinators out there.
I love it. We have such a nice variety here. This is amazing.
This is going to be cool. And you're getting used to that form. Grade 8, grade 3, homeroom. Man, this is great. Okay, so another one. Oh, and the other thing is too, if you are watching this back in preview or later on in replay, by all means, fill out the form too. Put it in there, see how it goes. So let's see how you're feeling today. So Isabella, how are you feeling today out of the scale from 1 to 5? And then I'll go to Katie.
Out of a scale from 1 to 5, I do feel like I am at a 4 just because we are so close to the weekend. I feel like this week has been exceptionally long. I don't know how Jonathan or Katie you're feeling, but that's where I am at. I'm so glad that it's at the end of a school day, and I can't wait that tomorrow is Friday.
I am somewhere in between that 3 and 4. I feel very much like Isabella. I'm so glad that tomorrow's Friday. It's been a little bit of an adventure of a week for us here where I am, but I am so excited to be here with all of you today. And I love all things EquatIO. So to spend this hour together, I'm super excited.
Emily, do you have the sun, or Katie, do you have the sun coming out?
Oh, yes. It is beautiful and sunny and warm here where I am in Southern California. I know it's not where most of all of you are, but it's beautiful and sunny here. So I'll just soak that in for all of you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And so we have a bunch of 3s. We have some 2 3s. The sun is out. Yeah, I was out this morning. It was only -3, but I was out in shorts and t-shirt. So, I'll take
Getting
it.
ready for spring. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I melt in spring, so don't worry. I told someone to put me back in the freezer when they find me as a puddle. Going on. So it seems that everyone's got a good idea of how this Google form is working. We have people coming in with the grades they're teaching. This is awesome. So let's get started with what we're doing. So the whole point of today is, we want to look specifically at math spaces and more importantly, like how that's going to be working, as well as looking at assessment pieces to Google Forms and EquatIO, and seeing where that kind of lies into it. And then at the end of it, we have some very practical lesson plans that Katie, Isabella, and I have created for you that you can just literally take from our slide deck, which will be emailed to you at the end of the session. And you can literally grab them and put them into your own math spaces and be able to use them. So hopefully we'll be doing some very good practical hands-on work and then leaving some questions at the end as well. So one last time, or not last time, we're gonna be using this form a lot, but let's go back into that form. I always love asking this. Do you have any questions about EquatIO right now that we can ask? And maybe we can answer right away, or it might be something that we're going to get to. I know, Katie, you use this with your system wide. Is there a burning question that you often hear all the time about EquatIO?
I think the first thing that I always get asked about EquatIO is where to find the math space, because all of my teachers are always like, how do I get there again? And so I know we're going to get there. I know we're going to talk about that today. But I feel like that is probably the number one question that I get regularly, because my teachers often we're all really comfortable finding that wonderful extension, but it's like, how do you get to that other part of it? So I think that is probably what I see often, but I see some great questions popping in here. And I think there's some awesome questions coming in. Thank you guys for submitting those.
Yeah, so Cyril, definitely, can you integrate with other G Suite apps and Microsoft? So the nice thing about EquatIO is that it does allow you to download right to your desktop, and you can use it with Microsoft. I mean, TextHelp has done so well with this tool, honestly, and I'm so thankful for this free session for all of you. Because of them, it's truly amazing, but they've done a really good job with that. And we will be showing you how to make edible copies for your students as well. And there is an extension for the computer that the kids can need. So I'll show you that in a minute as well. So that's coming from Luana. Good job. Thank you for that question there. So if you do have questions, please feel free. Sorry, it's been a very long day. Feel free to use that form throughout. Keep it open, bookmark it, and we will try to make sure that we get to your answers as we go along, and hopefully these questions will be put through. So just briefly, I know you asked the question about where do I find EquatIO. Well, we showed this in our last video at the last time how to actually get there, but it is an extension that you can find on the Chrome Web Store. So just look for EquatIO. Most boards have, if they have bought the license, will have it downloaded. If not, it is there for you, and kids do have the option of downloading it as well. Teachers, you have the premium account. No matter what you have to do is if you click on this link here, text.help/CCEQ, this will allow you to apply for that free premium if you haven't got it already. So that was something that I told everyone last time to stop and make sure that you applied for that. It takes about 24 hours for the system to kind of check in, but you will get that free side to it. But it's okay if you don't have it right now. There is still access to a lot of these tools without that premium stuff there. To download it, all you have to do is go to the website, and you can download it on Windows, Mac OS, Chrome, or the web app. So you just have to go to the website, EquatIO, and everything will be there right on the website. So if you just Google EquatIO or Bing it or whatever you want to find it, it is there for you to apply. So just to clarify, if you are in that free, it'll like flash between blue and yellow, and then there's a button. All your tools are there. The only things that don't have with that free, but as teachers you have the premium, so don't worry too much about it yet, is these little tools at the end, but they do show up in your license. So if your students don't have it with the board, they still have this free version of it that they can still edit things, which is good. It's a very good tool for that aspect. So I didn't want to go too far into that because I want to actually start to demo some of the things and get you into this space. But if you do have questions about some of those downloading things, we will get to you back to you, as well as you can always watch our other YouTube video where we go clearly into how to set it up and where to get into it. So we're going to do some demoing. And the very first thing that I know, Katie, you brought it up, right? What's the difference between math spaces and the other math spaces that we have in our Google Docs? So there is two different types of math spaces in a way, but they really are the same thing. I know it's kind of confusing to think about, but so what we're going to do is I'm going to open up a brand new Google Doc. You can just do docs.google. You can do this in your Word doc if you want to, if you have the EquatIO bar already on your computer. And then I click on at the top right-hand corner of where all my extensions are. I know my screen is kind of tiny right now to see that little rhombus, not a diamond, the rhombus diagonal square that's there. There's a little blue shape. When I click on it, my little toolbar at the bottom shows up. And I do realize that this is kind of counterintuitive, but to find the math spaces, what you have to do is you click on the EquatIO blue thing down at the bottom left-hand corner, and then hit try EquatIO math spaces. So I'll do that. I'll repeat that again. Open up a doc, go to the extension, or open up your Word file and go to your tool bar, make sure it's open. And when you can do it here, you can click on the EquatIO and go to try math spaces. When that happens, it opens up your math spaces. So this math space here is where I make my my students' work that I can send to them, that they can manipulate and do whatever. I can also insert math spaces into my actual document itself. And you'll notice that the difference is when I'm in a math space from the like this section, it in the top corner, it shows up like a little share button in the top right-hand corner, versus when I'm in the Google Doc one, the top right-hand corner looks like a little picture, like an insert picture. So it's kind of weird in a way, but what this allows you to do with the insert is like have a space that kids can just double tap and it automatically opens up, versus sending it through like Google Classroom or Teams or through any of your other LMS systems. So hopefully that's a pretty clear way of doing it. And it'll work out well. So when you're in this space, there's a couple things that I want you to kind of get familiar with, and I'm going to give you a chance to try some of them. Down below, you'll see the equation editor, which is pretty cool. So I can literally type in any equation. So the ones that I know elementary seems to always with is the addition. You can actually insert additional vertical like array buttons. I'm gonna make this bigger so that you can see what I'm doing. So all I did is I typed in add, and because I have the premium license, thanks to TextHelp, I can just click on that button and away those things go. And now I can insert those numbers. I can even put missing blanks. I can even change, like highlight. I go to the color tabs, and now I have a different color. And I know, Isabella, you mentioned this last time, right? So you can have kids answer with like a different color text, so you know which ones are kids and which ones aren't yours. And then you just hit insert, and boom, that equation is there. And if I want to edit it, say it was my kids, were like, oh, okay, now what do I do? Well, you click on it and I hit edit, and now it comes back into play. The same goes for subtraction.
What I love about it is that those gray squares, it may not show up when you insert it into your math space, but once you edit that particular picture, it will show up immediately. So then it will prompt the student to fill in the blank, essentially, when they're editing. So yeah, I love it because, visually it looks really neat because it doesn't necessarily have all the blank spaces, but then it does prompt our students to edit that particular math and then insert their answers like that.
Right, and then there's subtraction ones, there's multiplication ones. Division is a little bit interesting. It just adds as like the symbol. Another one I know a lot of us struggle with is, and this is one that I know Emily mentioned before. It always does this. Sorry, I'm trying to get to a new. Just got to insert my space. That's why. There we go. Part of my dead language there. Is the degree sign. So if I wanted to put like 90 degrees, I can literally type in 90 degrees. And there's my degree sign. Boom. That little symbol is like the key one. Or if I want a fraction one, 3/4, it automatically makes 3/4 for me. And I don't have to realign things or have the slash the other way or have the things that are happening there. So
yeah, I was just going to say that fraction, I feel like, is the biggest time saver, especially for students in elementary who are just learning the proper placement of their numbers and fractions. Because before EquatIO, we all know we had to type it and you use a slash and then they get confused at what's the numerator, what's the denominator. And this is such a powerful way to be able to ensure that they're seeing those in that proper way.
Yeah, which is amazing. And those of you, if I'm going a little too quickly through this video tutorial, just remember that this is being recorded. So you can always stop, play back, try this, catch up later. It will be sent out and it is on YouTube Live, so you can easily watch there. So just keep that in mind as we go forward.
So I think we do have a question from Luana. I think she managed to download that desktop software onto her computer. Now that she's on Google Docs, she's unable to see EquatIO. And I think the workaround with that is that you do have to download the EquatIO extension for your browser. So if it's Firefox, you have to like look that up. If it's Chrome, then just simply go to the Chrome web store and then just download that and have that as an extension. Just because Google Doc is a browser-based tool. So like, yeah, just make sure you also have that handy.
Yeah, the computer one only works for Microsoft.
And then also just another reminder, you will receive an email with the link to this presentation. So that will be coming to you. Have no fear, you'll get that after we're done here today.
Awesome. So the other tool that I really love to show, so we can insert math equations. That's amazing. We can insert graphs, which help us out in our intermediate and like grade 6, 7, 8. And it works with Desmos. But the most powerful tool for any primary from kindergarten to grade 3 is this lovely shape tool right here, right at the bottom of the screen, next to your pen, next to the other smart shapes. These two here they work into conjunction. So I can insert shapes, which is cool. You're like, oh, that's amazing. Jonathan, you can insert a circle. Is that all I have? Circle, square, triangle, star? No. In the 3 dots, the sideways Timbits, folks, you have way more options that are here. And I know it's kind of small, but I can also search for things. So like coins. So I have my US based coins. Don't ask me why I picked US. I have the Canadian coins, which are so much better than our US coins right now. But so we have them there, and now I can start pulling them out. And then you'll notice that on the side here, for everything that I've typed, I have different things along here. So I can infinite clone a certain component. So this $2 coin is infinitely cloned. Now, the confusing part is you're like, well, Jonathan, no, it's not. I don't see any infinite clones as a teacher. Well, no, you won't see it, but your students will. I can also lock the shape so that this can't be moved around anymore for my students. So again, you're like, wait a minute, Jonathan, you just moved it. It's locked for the students. Don't worry. So when you hit those buttons, it allows you to lock them. I can transform it. I can flip it around. I can even relabel it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. And then there is a speech, so it will read the math to you. Another favorite one that I love. Oh, sorry. Yep.
No, I was just going to say, I want to give another quick shout out to that infinite clone option. It is so powerful when working with our primary age students to give them that experience to be able to click and drag and be able to move items around and have more available for them without having to show them how to do things like copy and paste. And it's just there for them, and it makes their life so much easier. So just really, if you haven't, try that button. It is super powerful.
I was gonna say that the cube one is a cool one. Like they have various nets and geometric shapes that are in here. There is tons. And then if you want, like, there's tangrams, pentanomes, 10 frames, number lines. There's even, now we get into science, so we have resistors, ground DC motors. There's even like pulleys and gears that are built in here. People skiing. I've always found that one kind of funny, but that's force.
It's so important. Exactly.
I know when I first saw it, I was like, that's kind of hilarious. Why is that there? And you can do various things. And again, you just drag it right in and put it into the section that you need to have. The font is kind of a little bit interesting. You can change the colors to it, but when you're in, like, say I'm inside of this editable area, now I can change the text. Like I can insert a text.
Yeah, unfortunately,
there's
I think
text
it's stuck on a particular font. Like you can't change it into like a serif font or a sans serif font. You know, obviously we have access to all these lovely Google fonts from like Google Slides and Google Docs, but with EquatIO, it's simply the italicized font or like the regular text font face that you see right there.
My only suggestion would be like to go into a Google Doc and then screen grab whatever font you want, because you can insert photos into your math spaces as well. So I just literally type whatever font I want. but the font is generally pretty universally designed and friendly for everyone that has it there. So what I want to do, I want to give you some time, and then I'll play around. Maybe Isabella and Katie can offer me suggestions, but I'm going to give you some time to go through that and let me know what you did. Did you try one of the infinite cloners? Did you try sending or sharing it? I haven't shown you how to do that yet, but maybe you figured it out and see where it goes. Or maybe you tried inserting a Venn diagram. Oh, I know the one thing I didn't show you is that you can have multiple pages by clicking on, which is a brand new feature of EquatIO that I love. Well, not brand new, but it's there. And you can duplicate pages and you can move them up and down like a slide deck, which is pretty cool. So give it a chance to try it. And if you have questions, put that into that Google, into the cc.page/myanswer. Katie, is there something I know that like your elementary teachers really love to make?
For early primary teachers, I have a lot of teachers that love to make different math manipulatives for their students to be able to go in and use, inserting a number line with different parts that the kids can drag and make different parts of their number line. I know that one is really fun and amazing, and it allows them to interact with those number lines in a variety of ways, really helpful. So number lines are an amazing tool. And I want to give a shout out to those number lines because I know that our students love to sometimes click and accidentally drag them around. So make sure that you lock those in that area. So if you want them to stay on that part of the page, I really would recommend using that locking option. That is another really handy tool.
Yeah, so I know that was a question that just came into the form by Emily. So again, what you need to do is whatever shape you have, if I click on the shape on the right-hand side, or sometimes I move this box around depending on where I need to go. So all of a sudden this magic box appears and you're like, whoa, what's this? And on there, you'll see little toggles that will say infinite, cloner, or lock. And so definitely locking certain shapes is like key to making sure kids don't move things around too much. Or if you use a Venn diagram, or even like the 10 frame, so then they can they can plop that back into things as it goes along. So that's always something that I love. So that was something that we found out last time, right? The changing the background. So inside of options, so if I go down, I know you can't see the bottom of my screen because the CC page. If you click on the EquatIO down in the bottom right hand corner, it goes to options, and inside of options you have space options, and I can change this to square grid paper, or I can change this to blank paper. And so the question is around how do I actually like change that background. So this allows me to change it. The other one that I love in here is making sure that my math is in extra large font, or because the quality allows me to shrink it and grow it. So it's a really cool piece that you can have within there. Is there any more questions in there, Katie, that I?
Yeah, we have a number of questions, but one, while you're still on that number line, one question came through: how do students add numbers to the number line?
Awesome. So what I do, and I don't know if Katie, if you have another thing to it. So what I have them normally do is I just have them insert a number, like 1, and then they can insert that into the text, and then drag that number wherever it needs to go.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm like, I think that's the most simple. What I know for our elementaries, maybe finding that number might not be the best, but like they may have a tablet and they can use that, or the touchscreen Chromebooks, and like I can literally write 1, and like I can drag, and this is my mouse. My mouse isn't the greatest, but made 11. I can make my 2, and it knows that it's a 12. Even though the 1 is there and it's like over top of the 2, it picks it up pretty well, which is awesome.
It also does spacing very, very well. So if you have your students writing out fractions, it will automatically space it out for them appropriately.
So amazing. I love when it does that for you. So helpful. All right. Well, yeah, we had another question asking, will the infinite cloner be added to insert math space? I don't know if we know that answer yet.
So if I'm inside of the Google Doc, is that what the question might be asking?
Yeah, so if you're using the insert math space, not necessarily remember that wonderful difference we love to talk about, the insert versus the math space itself. I think that's a great kind of thing to identify.
Yeah, so in the insert math space, it doesn't show up in any of the, so you get a little bit limited spacing into here. And I know I was talking to another colleague of mine who was like, you know, I was trying to play with the insert math spaces, but in the end, I didn't really like it. What I like the insert math space for is more of a, if I'm making like a lab report, or if I'm making a worksheet for my kids to like digitally have, this allows me to have a space that they can just go in and they can insert things and draw pictures instead of like insert drawing, Google Draw, which I love Google Draw, but you know, when it comes to math, it doesn't do the exact same things. And the manipulatives are here for my students. So that's where I really love the insert into the doc. But for the most part, I generally go into my math spaces and I make tons of math spaces for the kids to have. And just as an aside, if both you and your students have a premium version, you can actually send and see all their work that's attached into the document, and you can actually reply back, give feedback, mark, grade, assess, all within inside of the math spaces that's there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that was kind of a nice comparison between the two, some really great ideas. We had one other question asking, can you please show again the share button versus the copy button?
Yeah, so I think that was the difference between inserting into math spaces in Google Doc or inserting. Yeah. So when I'm in my Google Doc and I hit this down on my toolbar and I hit in the EquatIO sign inside of my cube, that opens up a math space. And you'll notice in the top right-hand corner of my screen, it looks like a giant picture with an arrow sticking out of it. That's the one that I know is inserting into my Google Doc. Versus if I'm in my other math spaces, it's that little share button. And that's important because I'm about to show you in a minute. That little share button is how I'm going to give my work to my students. But I think most of our questions are good to go, and I can share that. And we're going to come back to math spaces. Don't worry, I have another question to ask you. So we're actually going to build something together and think about design. So we're good there. So when I hit this button, it says make a copy for each person, right? So this allows me to make a copy. Now it does say only premium users will be able to submit a response. And so what I do for my students, if I didn't have my premium, they just take a screenshot of their work and then throw it back in. And then that way they can submit that work to me, or they send it back to me as a copy. So it is a little bit harder in that regards. But when you have it as a premium, you're able to see that submit copy. But I can make a copy and I can expect that response. Again, I can't use this last one unless everyone has the premium. So I make a copy and I hit the button continue, and it gives me a link. And so that link that I have here, I can then insert that link into, which great, Google Classroom's already here. But if I'm using Teams or I'm using another LMS system, that will allow me to insert that copy right away into things. So that's just the share function. So I thought I would ask the masses, because I need your help in this. Again, using that form. I want to make this practical for you. So I thought, is there something right now that you would love to see being built inside of EquatIO? And we can actually build it for you, and I'll pop it into the slide deck so that people can grab it, and then you can kind of follow along with the thought process of universal design. So if you have like a burning like graphic or a workspace that you want to see being done, please fill out that form, plop it in. I know I have some ideas of what can be done. I know one that my grade one, my little one is working with money right now and trying to count them based on a 10 equivalent ratios, right? Equivalent fractions or fractions on a number line. Awesome. Let's see what else is out there, and then 3D shapes and identifying base and height. Ooh, man, everyone's giving me some good mathy type of questions. So we can easily go with that. Finding area of a parallelogram. Oh, I love that one. That's always a fun one to try, because I always use manipulatives for that space, but then see where it goes. So and then transformations. Ooh, man. Okay, which one? I have to pick one. What do you think, ladies?
Let's do the shapes, shall we?
Okay.
Or yeah.
So the finding parallelogram using rectangular and
that's
triangle.
a really good one.
So the reason why I just moved my space to a grid for that, same with transformations or angles and measurement. I do like the grid space to allow kids to have a background of counting, and allows them to see like area and allows them to manipulate that space. And it also allows me to like measure and line shapes up. So I'll do a couple in here and see where it goes. Sorry, my toolbar keeps coming back. So the first thing I'm going to need to obviously do is have a parallelogram. And the key would be to make sure that I have the exact same space in between everything that I want to have. So again, I'm going to count and make sure that I can make my rectangle the exact same area that's there, and I can change those colors of those shapes to allow things to be different. And then that would be the space. So I would have those two there, and then I would put in the instructions of what I would want them to do and to investigate. So again, I know this was a question that someone asked me actually outside of this, was talking about how do I insert text instructions into EquatIO math spaces? And at first I was like, oh, just go to Google Docs and screen grab it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, there's a text button. So you can actually hit the text button and actually start typing. So can you, the relationships between a parallelogram and a rectangle. Put me on the spot as well of making sure I can actually spell. So those can be put on the top. Again, I can shrink that that down or make it bigger depending on what's needed. And I'm going to lock that in, because if I don't lock it, my kids will move the instructions around everywhere where I go. If you wanted to, you could put in, if you didn't want to use the graphic, you could put in lines and actually insert like the numbers of the height and the base. But because they're the exact same, we can then even try to make one transparent. Whoops, that's the outside of it. So I can actually insert one over top of the other, so that students would, and this is what I would actually make sure that I actually laid out the exact space that is there, and I probably made it a little bit wrong, to be honest. There we go. And I would have made sure that they're there, and then talking that way I can have kids talk and to define the rectangular spaces that are in there, which is a good one to try. The other one that I know some of you suggested was transformational geometry. So inside of the hexagon, I can put in, I believe, the Cartesian plane. What do they call it? Do you remember what they call the Cartesian plane? I know it's in here, but they don't call it Cartesian plane. There we go. Coordinate plane is what EquatIO calls it, and I can never remember what they name it. But I can actually put that in there, and I can place that on a certain section, lock that, and now I can place a shape inside of my space. And I can even put the grid points where I needed to, and I can lock that particular shape. And then I can say, I can type in the rotation. So if I'm going to put in the instructions, rotate, whoops, hit text, rotate shape around point X, 90 degrees. Turn off that for a minute. Point X, 90. And you'll notice that I went between text and numbers. So now my X is, it looks like the actual variable X, not like the time symbol or like a printed X. And then I can hit insert, and I forgot then to make sure that I actually locked that one, and I forgot to put the point. My point X. And so now we can rotate that 90 degrees. And if I wanted to, I could insert another shape on top of that. And I can color that a different color. If it lets me color it, sometimes it does. Why are you not letting me color you right now? Oh, because I was on the, I'm like, why are you not letting me color? And so now students can actually rotate that shape around the point X that we have here. I'm noticing that if there's any questions in there, I think there's tons of them popping in. I don't know, Katie, if you see anything.
Well, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out because we had someone ask a question about having trouble formatting text into multi-line, but then sure enough, they're clearly working in the program right alongside of us, and they figured it out. They figured that if you have your multi-line text inside of that text option that you've been typing in, that pressing enter or return will allow you to do that very easily and very well. So that is amazing. Thank you so much for not only asking that question, but sharing your solution with us along the way. I love that you guys are in the program and working right alongside of us.
Awesome. And so that is like, so I will make sure I share this. So again, I'm gonna plop that in there. I'm gonna make a copy, and then I'm gonna make sure that I copy this link right here, and I'll plop that into my deck later on once I'm able to get out of my preview mode, so that you can always grab some of these spaces that are in here. And I do apologize if they're, if we haven't covered everything that was inside of your questions, but we do have a lot of samples to show. I always love to have the text somewhere in the top. I do tend to use the spaces that are here. And now what's great about having multiple pages, you can clone this and say duplicate this page, and it'll show up in it'll show up in the page below. It should show up in the page below. There we go. And students could answer on this page if they needed to have more spaces that were happening. And so everything is there to allow you to be using the spaces that's there. So we do have in the deck, and again, this deck will be provided to you at the end of this, through an email. Cobblestone will send you another email to follow up on questions. But we put in those, I know some of you asked about fractions and equivalents, so there's a reason why I didn't show that right away. I do have one in here. Actually, we have three samples of fraction equations for you to try. There's ones around geometry as well, and I believe I did put in a rotational one. Thinking about science, we use these topics a lot, thinking about attraction and repulsion and having kids use diagrams. I love this one here where they can, there's your experiment. Does it float? Does it not float? Right? And they can drop things in and show you the different buoyancy of where those spaces happen. And then even creating diagrams, you can insert pictures and then put the different points on. Science, the tool is not just used for math, it can be used for our science spaces. Here's one where you can put food webs and grab the different animals that are there, as well as making electrical models to show the current and rates. And then here's some more, the phases of the moon for grade 6, as well as some more repulsion that are there. We're not here, we're not done, don't worry. The last thing I want to make sure that we have time to try is EquatIO does also work not just in Google Docs and math spaces, but in forms. And I think that's the important one that we can kind of take a look at as well, because this allows us to use it for a practical assessment, right? You know, we always have our students taking a look at us and going, how do I insert this equation? Like, I have to like copy it, or I use some other like web-based equation or tool to insert the image. Sometimes it's like, you know, I can do everything inside of EquatIO. And as long as the extension is loaded, I can put this into Google Forms. It also works into your Microsoft, the equivalent of Google Forms for Microsoft. I can't remember the name as it slips me right now, but all you have to do is, you see where all these lovely little blue, now this is where my math symbol goes. Isabella, what is that symbol again? As my brain is literally leaving me.
That is the summation, the sigma. It's called sigma, and it's usually representing summation. So like, yeah.
Yeah, so this is what saves me, right? Like, it's been a long day, folks. I do apologize that my brain is going to mush. So all I have to do is I literally write the question of, you know, solve for X. And then now I'm like, okay, well, I don't actually have the equation, so I can type in, and then there goes my toolbar that comes up. I can then solve for, so y equals 4x plus, and there's my sign, 3, where y is, sorry, I'm going to go back here, where y is equal, and some words do pop up, so I don't worry too much about, to 7. And that may not work out. I'm just making this up as I go along. And then it does its bibbly bobbly boop stuff. And there's the equation. So solve for X. And then you can put your various answers if you wanted to with the numbers, or you can actually put in your actual solving of the equation. Another question I think of, like application questions to think about, is like, you know, here's the steps, which ones are correct. Another one that I love is thinking about for my primaries, is inserting pictures of like coins or number spaces. Now I haven't tried this, and so probably should have tried it before I go into it. Have you ever tried to put in a math space?
I've only been inserting equations and been relying quite heavily on the screen grab option with EquatIO. Yeah, see, that would work.
Oh, that is amazing. I'm so excited you tried that out. I love that. That is so neat because of all of those amazing options in that kind of special 3-dot area. I love that.
So nothing like trying something live for the very first time, right? So a question that you can easily insert, especially with our primaries who struggle with like reading and need to have that equation. It's like, okay, which coin represents a quarter, right? And so we can actually insert into the options, and I could insert. Now I could go in here and, you know, locate my pictures, put the picture in, find the coin, but I can just go into my math spaces and boom, there goes the coin. So again, I'm going to search because I don't have time to find everything. I'm going to put my coins. I only need my 25-cent coin. So I'm going to make sure that's in here. And then these ones I can just delete. And so therefore, that's what's going to be put into my math spaces, like, and there goes that coin that represents. So, and then once I can then submit that form to wherever I want and have those responses and everything is there. So there's that. I did also insert molecular. So there's a couple other things inside of math spaces that aren't so much primary or elementary based, but you know, there is the periodic table and scientific calculators and the molecular structures, which are kind of fun. There's also the I can put in angles and when I'm dealing with the angles, I can actually increase and change them, and have students, so I can actually take away the label, and now I can have students use that same protractor to measure that said angle as well. So that's another one that you can put in here and have everything put in place. So I know there's a lot.
We had a quick question for you related to our Google form. Someone asked, are students able to open the toolbar to show a solution directly in the answer field when they're answering their Google form?
I believe the answer would be no. Yeah, so unfortunately.
Yeah, because it is inserting the math in the form of an image, and unfortunately the text field on Google Form is only receiving text rather than images, so students couldn't do that. But you could easily create like a Google Doc that you can, if you want to see progress work, for that as well. So yeah, that's my workaround.
The form for me is more of my my assessment of, or my assessment for type of learning, like where I just want to see like quickly where are they at, or what have they learned, like an exit ticket out the door, hit this button to let me know where it is, and I can collect that data. Anything that I want them to edit or do, I'm going to be doing it in math spaces, or I'm going to be doing it in a Google form or a Google Doc in some way to allow that to happen. So I know we kind of went through a tons of stuff, and we have a little bit of time left, that I want to make sure that I leave this time for you to ask questions so we can go over some things. So I know, Isabella, you're going to pop that form thing back up again, the cc.myanswers, and please drop that in there. Let me know what questions that we have, and I think there's been tons of questions in here already.
Absolutely, so yes.
We can probably go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. First question, what tool would you recommend to create arrays or the area model when representing fraction multiplication?
Yeah, so for me, the greatest tool that I love is always in lines, not in. I mean, there is circles. So if I was to type in fractions in my search function, there is bars, and those are my actual favorite tool to represent a linear model for fractions, especially in elementary, even into grade 7, because they haven't really fully developed the understanding of what a circle is, and radius, and like percentages, and so I generally use the fraction bars to represent various things, or if I wanted to create my own, I would use the squares, and then I copy and paste, and then group things together so that these now become one solid shape where I can try it. But you do have circle models if you wanted to. So there are circle fractions that you can put in, but there's a lot of research around trying to get rid of fractions and pizzas, and referring to fractions as pizzas, and a big debate around that.
Absolutely, that's great, wonderful. Next question I see in there is, can the number of spaces on the number line be changed? So like when they're choosing from those different number lines, can they change those?
Unfortunately, these spaces, I believe, are the only ones that are there.
Right.
Yeah, I can only change the stroke width and the width. So what I love about it though is that it's an open number line. So there's no numbers that are actually identified to it. So when I put the 1 here, that means that this is one space, but I could move that 1 here, and now this space is all the numbers below 1. Or I use the blank one where I put my own lines in, and then I make sure that they're applicable to the things that are there.
Absolutely. I was going to say that last one as well. I would do that one all the time, where you just give them that kind of blank number line, and then the students can build from there. That's a really great way to do that. Wonderful. Let's see, what other questions do we have in here?
So I think we've managed to just try it out. Actually, if the students do have EquatIO, they can click on that little blue square in their text box, and they can actually insert an equation or an image. In terms of like seeing that from the teacher's view, you would just see it in the link, and you simply have to click on that link and it will bring you to that student's math space. So
wonderful.
It's really nice to see that it works. Thank you so much for showing us.
What was that in?
On a form.
On a form.
Oh.
Students can actually write it out in a math space.
Oh, then like things are just blowing my mind left, right, and center.
I know. I love that our wonderful people that are all with us are kind of teaching us new things along the way. I absolutely love it. Thank you, guys. We did have another question kind of pop in. It says, can the numbers on the Protractor be changed so that the angle can be measured in both directions?
So if I was to pick my Protractor tool, so that Protractor tool is in the smart shapes, and I'm gonna grab it, and it automatically becomes there, and then I can always flip. Whoop, wrong way. I can transform or flip. I believe I thought I could flip my. I thought I could flip it, but maybe I can't. Katie, am I?
No, I've always just rotated, just exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's normally my recommendation, because you can rotate it any which way that you need to.
But you can change the graduation of things, and you can
Yes.
change the minor graduation to show different tabs or different abilities to it. And there's also the full 360 version of it. So sometimes I do say, okay, let's rotate this now from 9. No, so now this is my 0, or to flip the angle. I'm like, okay, so if the angle's this way now, then I'm going to measure from my. I just change my name to where it needs to be. But
yeah, that rotation is really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there's more. Is there any more questions that you can think of? You can also label the clockwise for the projector.
We'll toggle the option and
yeah, and that will flip it.
See, this is why I'm not the smartest person in the room. It's okay that I'm not the smartest person in the room.
From our amazing people right alongside of us. This is so amazing. So, we just had a question. Is there a ruler?
I believe the answer is yes, but I could be wrong. No. So I guess what I would do is I would measure it using your number lines or spaces, and allowing it to move. Oh, so there you go, Katie.
Oh.
Do you remember the other question? You remember changing the
yes.
number? So what I did is I went to my smart tool, and I went to the number line, and then you can change the number of segments that are.
Also a blank line.
Yeah,
so the blank line and the number of segments. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna have to go try that.
And then here is at the same time, here is your ruler that we can put into place here too. So I do see that we are nearing the end of our session, and I could go on forever sitting inside of these tutorials, learning and seeing your questions. And again, if you do have more questions, please put them in the form. Even if you're watching them back again, if you're watching this 20 years from now, no, we probably won't be answering those questions 20 years from now. But if you are by any chance, try it, see what happens. But we do ask if you have any feedback, please use the cc.page/feedback. We would love to hear where we can improve or what we can use to help you learn better. A huge shout out to TextHelp for all of this workshops and the last 3 workshops that we've had here. And thank you so much, Isabella and Katie. Of course, Emily, who is always there helping us out, but thank you so much. I couldn't do this without you. So I'm gonna turn over to Katie or Emily or wherever it goes.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody again. You guys are amazing. I loved your participation, learning right alongside of us. So thank you all so very much.
I love it. And with about 30 seconds to go before the top of the hour, John, Katie, Isabella, TextHelp, and every single one of you hanging out with us today. I am so excited to unleash you into the world of EquatIO for math and science in the elementary fields. We are back next week if you want to join in for some secondary, so kind of grade 7, 8, and above, so our 9, 10, 11, 12s. We're going to dive into this again, and watch your email for all of those resources coming your way shortly, so you have access to all of those ready to plug and play templates. Have a fabulous afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you are joining us. Thank you so much, and thank you, TextHelp, for making these workshops possible. Goodbye, everybody.